Okay, hello, this is Sophie from English Australia. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm just checking that everybody can hear me and also see the first PowerPoint slide on the screen. If you can you type in yes? Great. All right, I'm getting lots of yeses. So let's get started. So welcome also to today's presenter, Marnie Wirth. Marnie's a teacher at Macquarie University English Language Centre in New South Wales in Sydney, where she teaches academic programs and also delivers teacher development workshops. I asked her what she taught, and she said a bit of everything. So I think she's a jack of all trades. Marnie is really passionate about grassroots teacher development. And in 2014, she began the Macquarie University English Language Centre Journal Club. She presented on this at the English Australia Conference last year, and she's also going to present on it at the Queensland PD Fest this year. So welcome, Marnie.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Sophie. Can I just give a shout out, special welcome to anyone listening in from a regional area today. Okay, so look, I'm going to cover 6 points in this presentation, and here they are here on the screen. It's defining Journal Club, its key concepts, reasons for its setup, and our teachers' voices, some responses from an anonymous survey, benefits to management, and suggestions for creating a journal club. At the end, I hope you'll be able to go away and think about creating one at your centre, or at least increase your awareness of how you might create a PD format that builds agency, exploration, and collegiality at your workplace. So, what is Journal Club? So, as Sophie said, it's a grassroots initiative at the English Language Centre in Macquarie University. It's voluntary, it's run by teachers, for the teachers. It's where a teacher volunteers to select and present a peer-reviewed article to share over lunch. And here we are here, sitting around a table waiting for our meal. But as you can see, we're already debating whatever it is that article was about that day. And I can't see too many closed mouths there, just a few. So everyone's having a chit-chat and having a good time. So Journal Club initiates and strengthens sharing, agency, exploring, and collegiality. So what is Journal Club? It's the teacher's own practice is the impetus for choosing an article, bringing to the table their own challenges, successes to explore with their peers. It's a rich discussion follows where teachers reflect, question, share and create. It's offered here at ELC about 4 times a year in the non-teaching week. I'll give you an example. Keith. There's Keith. And his search to motivate his students. So Keith had a class of young, reasonably unmotivated students. He knew his class required something fun and a little different from what they may have previously experienced. He also knew he needed to scaffold this in such a way that it'll get them thinking about their inner world and how they themselves hold the answers to what motivates them. But Keith was left wondering to himself, how do I get the students to that point of wondering? So Keith brought his issue to the table at Journal Club for discussion. An article by Dornier discussed the power of imagining the future L2 self. So the students had to imagine themselves in the future as second language speakers of English. In the end, Keith came up with a design of this thermometer where students plotted along it where they'd like to be at the end of their English course. And every now and then during the course, Keith would ask the students to revisit this thermometer that he had created, where they plotted along it and show how they thought that they had moved closer to their end goal. So Keith, in the end, Keith reported this working really well to motivate and inspire his students. So here we are here. Let's look at these gorgeous glowing smiles. Can anyone pick the twins? So this is us here at Journal Club on a lovely kind of spring day sitting outside. So why did we set up Journal Club? Journal clubs are actually very common in the field of medicine and engineering. They're used as a means to keep up with advancements and research in the field. In fact, that's where I drew my inspiration, and then later I learned it was also being used in ELT. And you can see the work of Phil Chappell and Karen Benson, for example. They had a journal club in Thailand. But I think the way we do it here at the ELC is quite unique in terms of its format. So why did we set it up? Well, management-driven PD is valuable, but the teachers wanted to find answers for themselves and with what matters to them in their classrooms. And really only the teacher knows this to the level, to that intimate level. So teachers wanted greater agency over their professional development. It's intensive and an ongoing ELT PD based on what teachers consider important for their learning and for their practice. It's supportive and non-judgmental. It's a supportive and non-judgmental space where people can explore, share, create and problem solve. And it also develops collegiality. Management recognised the strength of peer learning as well. And management really does have an intentional creative culture here at the ELC. Teacher PD is likely to be far more effective in developing teachers' conceptual understanding when it is intensive and sustained over a period of time. And that's what Journal Club offers. So if we have a look here, where we look at areas of interest as impetus up here on the top left, and then so the teacher comes with, with a problem that they want to solve or an area of interest, then we all read and reflect on the peer-reviewed article. We discuss and explore, or share and reflect and have fun when we're at Journal Club. Some of us go away and trial these things, or we take it on in our own way. And then sometimes we come back to Journal Club the next time it's on, and we feed back and talk about how or what we did and how it worked. And Journal Club, it's a learning loop where you come back around and you have closure in your learning and what we do. So the key concepts of Journal Club. So there's three main areas here. So it's an effective PD where it's collaborative professional work groups. We use teacher narratives and we reflect on our practice. Now let me just explain these in a little bit more detail in the next few slides. So exploring our practice with peer support, it's ancient news. If we can have a look here at the caveman, but they're getting tips on how to kind of cook their chicken without burning their fingers. Collaborative professional work groups are effective because, as the studies in these slides show, teachers value learning from their peers. It enhances their lessons by making them more effective and ultimately leads to noticeable differences in the students' learning. Richards and Farrell, 2005, state that although teacher development can occur through individual learning initiatives, collaborating with others enhances individual learning and in turn serves the collective goals of the institution. So collaborating in groups to explore ideas and practice, as we said, it's not new. It's our first knowledge-based structures. And anthropologists have observed this form of learning and traced it, way back, time immemorial. That's how we've been learning in groups and from each other. So why collaborative work groups today? Okay. So they target development needs by drawing on collective expertise. It allows ELT PD to shift from information accumulation to idea generation and creativity. from disembodied rationality to whole person engagement. So disembodied rationality, so for example, at times we can come across articles that seem so abstract and may at first glance lack relevance in the classroom. The Journal Club can bridge that gap through discussion that brings purpose and practicality to the abstract. And finally, it keeps teachers on the cutting edge, utilises their knowledge, as swap ideas, explore, develop, aim for best practice, problem solve, and ponder possibilities. It's said that knowledge is power, but sharing that knowledge is even more powerful. This can be achieved by sharing academic literature and tapping into the expertise of our experienced colleagues. I'm using the metaphor here of communities working together to grow a forest or a garden. Through academic journal discussion groups like Journal Club, teachers can grow their knowledge. They can turn their career aspirations from dreams into reality. Through sharing, working collaboratively, they can create and problem solve within a bed of shared experience. It provides a nexus between the academic literature and classroom practice. ELTPD is most effective when teachers engage actively in instructional inquiry in the context of collaborative professional communities focused on instructional improvement and student achievement. Journal Club also requires less administrative involvement. It's relaxed and fosters openness to share stories of their practice, their issues, and their dreams. If we just stop for a moment and think to yourself, how do I talk about my practice? How do I tell others what occurs in my classroom? Often we'll tell a story or share a moment about what we do. Rarely do we talk in mechanical or abstract terms about our practice. Stories help us get to the heart of what we do and why we do it, and that's the beauty of Journal Club. Teachers can share their stories to get at what's happening for them and their students. And Gollenbeck and Johnson here say, in their support of this, or to support what I'm trying to say here, I want to use a Gollenbeck and Johnson quote rather. 2 decades of educational research argues that teachers' knowledge is largely structured through stories. Thus, the use of narrative has emerged as the predominant means of getting at what teachers know and what they do with what they know, and the socio-cultural context within which they teach and learn to teach. So, teacher narratives from the classroom. Let's use Deb. Deb's a teacher here, and she wanted to improve her students' listening. So, Deb's an experienced teacher. She's been in the game for a long time. However, she wanted some ideas on how to improve her students' listening scores for university entrance. So at Journal Club, we had an article on micro-listening as a strategy to improve listening, particularly extended listening, such as listening for note-taking in lectures. We asked questions and posed solutions. Finally, Deb came up with a strategy to trial in her classroom. She reported later that the strategy she came up with resulted in her students feeling more confident and aware of their listening. And her students felt more empowered with these new techniques. They can use these new techniques to improve their listening scores. So it also gave Deb some new strategies to add to her already extensive toolkit. So teacher narratives can be a starting point for critically reflecting on their practice. As a result of storytelling, Journal Club can be a place where personal beliefs about teaching and learning become explicit. Teachers' stories provide a base for critical self-reflection, and it gets to the hidden parts of teaching, for example, philosophies, principles, and theory. So in order to get at what drives ELT practice, teachers require regular opportunities where they feel secure to pose and question about how and why things are the way they are, what value systems they represent, what alternatives might be available, and what the limitations are of doing things one way as opposed to another. Discussions and explorations at Journal Club support evidence-based reflection. It helps to raise teachers' self-awareness. At times our practice and principles can be at odds. I think we've all experienced that. And Journal Club provides a forum to analyse and make sense of critical incidents and the messy world of practice. And the goal? Well, the goal is to improve practice and the quality of life for the teacher, students and the centre. So we took an anonymous survey with the teachers because I just really wanted to know what they thought of it and what they thought of the whole process and if they thought it was valuable. So here are some of the responses from teachers from this anonymous survey. What I'll do, there's a couple of these slides, so I'll give you guys time to kind of read them yourself, give you a break from my voice. I'll just read the question for you. So now question 7 asked, how beneficial has Journal Club been for exploring, reflecting on your practice with your fellow teachers? So question 11 asked, have you tried any of the techniques and strategies or theories in your classroom? And I had to kind of give some brief explanation there. This is a long one, but I thought it was good, so I didn't want to kind of chop it down too far. And finally, question 12, I've just popped down 3 responses from 3 different teachers. So question 12 asked, has Journal Club helped you to think more about your teaching? Briefly explain. So as you can see by that response there, it really does promote that self-reflection. And each teacher will take something different away from it. And obviously as well, it'll just depend on what the content of the article is. But and that's the beauty about Journal Club, because it's not this blanket approach to professional development. It allows the teacher to take away and to make sense of it in the way that works for them and what's appropriate for them and their situation. So what's in it for management? Let's have a look at this. It affirms the trust and rapport between management and teachers. And that's been certainly the case here at the ELC. It's free, no costs. The only cost is if teachers, if you guys out there would like to run it the same way that we do it here. We have it at a cafe or at a restaurant, and that's the teacher's at the teacher's expense, which probably can be claimed on tax. So it alleviates management workload in terms of organising the LTPD because it's run by the teachers for the teachers. It's reflective. What they say, reflective teachers tend to be better at articulating their knowledge. It fosters peer support networks. So, how do we go about creating a journal club? Okay, so and that's going to be different depending on your centre and the culture that you have. But here are just some broad brushstrokes of what you could do. So invite teachers to lunch and pose the possibility from that point. Ask the teachers if they'd like such an initiative. And remember that Journal Club is a teacher-led professional development activity. It's not, management can step back and they can let the teachers run with it. And wonderful things happen when they do that. And that's not to say that management-led PD isn't, appropriate or viable. Of course it is. This is just an added, an addition to that. So once initiated, ask for 1 or 2 volunteers to organise and steer the Journal Club to maintain its momentum. And ongoing and sustained inquiry dialogue is key. So what I mean by that is ongoing and sustained inquiry dialogue is important because it builds on each other's contributions. So, basically you're just kind of, you're listening in and you're playing with possibilities, you're reflecting, you're considering each other's ideas, you're exploring each other's ideas and your own. And discussion, it's a type of discussion that guides and prompts and builds on each other's contributions. And the other thing is, when you're creating your own journal club, do it in a way that you're not rushing. So don't rush. Give yourselves plenty of time, to eat together, to read, to revisit the key points of the article, share ideas, ponder solutions, and also have a laugh, because that's important too. And actively advertise. Advertise it around your centre. And this is how we do it here at the ELC. So we'll pop up, times, dates, places, etc. And we just kind of put the purpose of it. So here it says, the emphasis is on a relaxed collegial atmosphere where volunteers suggest an article for open discussion. This is all about self-directed learning, coming together in a constructive, no-pressure environment. So that's what we put up there. And I just put it on A3 size posters or lots and lots and lots of A4 posters and try and do it in colour. And I'll just pop them around everywhere. So suggesting an article for discussion, because as we were saying before, it really does need to be a peer-reviewed article and to have a few boundaries around, how you do choose those articles. So we here just choose one article from the peer-reviewed journal, and it needs to inform classroom practice or understanding in some way. So the reason why we only choose one is because we want to really go deep with the ideas and the points and really kind of pull it apart and examine it. Whereas I think if you've got too many, you kind of skate across the surface quite thinly. So, and the teacher, when they choose the article, they come from a point of relevance, interest, and what excites them. And then we email the article out, and allow ample time, for people to read it, of course. And all members have the idea is that everyone has to have read the article in time for their lunchtime discussion. And we have some presenter prompts as well. So when the people present, they only present for, around 2 to 5 minutes maximum. Because the idea is not to create a scenario where people feel pressured or they feel like they're under the spotlight or anything like that. So I mean, some people do want to talk for 5 minutes, and that's fine, or even longer, and that's fine as well. But I think you can kind of, what we do here anyway, we kind of sum it all up in, two to 3 minutes, really. So some of the prompts are here, so why did you choose the article? In what way does this article encourage you to think about your teaching? In what way, if at all, does the article encourage you to think about your teaching, your beliefs, your philosophies? And in what way might it benefit others at Journal Club? So others might be, in terms of your students, your colleagues in the centre. And if you want to, sometimes what we do here, we prepare discussion activities to help get the most out of the article. But that's, sometimes we do that, sometimes we don't. Depending on the activity, teachers could do these in preparation for Journal Club or during Journal Club. The sky's the limit. Do what works for the teachers at your centre. And, really, one of the ideas here is to have fun. So just in summary, points to consider when you're initiating your own Journal Club. It's a non-judgmental, positive and supportive environment. You validate each other and what teachers bring to the table. And the validation is very, very important. It's a shared and respectful space. And regular and predictable frequency to the Journal Club is important, I think. And eating together, we can't, the whole idea of eating together, there's something special about that. We relax and we kind of connect when we do that. It's voluntary, and make sure that there's plenty of time. So we're very lucky here at the centre. We have about an hour and a half, and it just seems like the natural amount of time. It just seems to work. So you can you explore the article, you talk, you problem solve, you think about it, and you eat. And by that time, an hour and a half has passed. So thank you. Happy to chat further and to hear any of your questions.
Okay, great. Thanks, Marnie. If anyone has questions for Marnie, you can type them into the chat box now. Okay, someone has asked a question, Marnie. How and when do you choose the focus for the next Journal Club?
Okay, that's a really good question. Basically, the teachers choose the focus. So, like I said in this slide here, I've just popped it back up, it says regular and predictable frequency. So basically the teachers kind of roughly know, like the non-teacher week's coming up, and some of the teachers here will have already started to think about, well, what's been important for me? What's a key issue that's come up for me? Or what's something that I've begun wondering about with my own practice? Or what also happens is that, teachers talk in the staff room or around the photocopier, and there's like a general feel of an issue that's coming around. Like, so maybe, for example, students' listening scores have been low. So the teachers will get together and think, well, what can we do? Let's try this or let's try that. And then at the next Journal Club, like in Deb's, the example that I gave with Deb, we had an article on micro-listening. And I think Deb volunteered that article. So the teachers themselves volunteer the article. And if not, say, for example, also sometimes the teachers say, oh, I've just been so busy, I haven't been able to think of an article, but, I'm very happy if you could find an article for us that talks about, for example, listening skills, or how to get, maybe some of the Japanese students, talking a little bit more in class, for example. So it can either be a teacher will come to me with an article already, and generally that's what actually happens. But there's other times where teachers say, hey, you know what, I'm so busy, haven't been able to do that, but this is what I'm just dying to know more about. So I'll go off and I'll kind of find a couple of articles and say, hey, is this kind of what you mean? And in the end, the teacher ends up choosing, you know, from a selection anyway. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you. Another question. I was wondering about the role of the facilitator. Who takes that role, and what are some things a facilitator should be aware of to keep the discussion running smoothly?
Okay, great question. A facilitator can be the person who has volunteered the article because it's been their kind of role, if you will, to kind of answer some of those focus questions. So if I go back, so if you see presenter prompts here on the screen, so the person presenting, they can sometimes facilitate the journal club discussion. The other role too of a facilitator, and most of the time, you know, in a way, that's me. I'm kind of on the sidelines, and so what I will do, I will listen out for what the teachers are saying, and I'll try and grab some of those key points or more salient points, and I'll listen out for that, and I'll try to drill down a little bit deeper to kind of get teachers thinking a little bit more. And it's not that I know the answer. It's just helping the teachers as kind of an observer on the side, if you will, to kind of think a little bit more about, you know, some of those key points and to kind of get them thinking about their own solutions, if that makes sense. That's that inquiry dialogue that I was talking about. It's you know, achieving, you know, that common understanding through that structured talk, and some of the structure there is for the facilitator to listen out for some of those key points and take those points a bit deeper, get to the guts of it, if you will. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. Okay, someone has asked if there's any resistance to the initiative at the Language Centre. For example, staff unwilling to attend or questioning the value of the Journal Club.
Not that I've heard, and not that I've experienced, because how do I know that? Well, I know that because basically we have a full kind of the seats fill, basically. So we cap it to about 16, and that's something that I haven't actually put in the slides, which I'll do for the Queensland PD. Is look, I think when you've got a group of like 16, you kind of need to separate it out to have two separate groups. It just kind of gets a little bit noisy and a little bit easier to manage the discussion. But that said, we haven't actually done that here yet. It seems to work okay. So what was that? What was that question again, Sophie?
Just if there was any resistance.
I'm not sure I answered it.
I think you did. If there was any resistance, yeah, or you know, anyone questioning the value of the Journal Club in the staff room.
Look, can I just add something there though? We haven't had any resistance, and in fact, management have been very, very supportive, and I think management acknowledges that PD, it's not a luxury. It's really if I can be as bold, say, look, it's the centre's responsibility, I think, to ensure the integrity and the welfare of the teachers and the students, and of the courses that they provide. And I think when management allows teachers to have such initiatives, or supports teachers rather to have such initiatives, you know, wonderful things happen, and there is that wonderful rapport between management and teachers, and there's that respect there. So we're very lucky here to have had no resistance from management at all so far on those grounds, and I think it's because management acknowledges power and the necessity of teachers having PD and
Yes,
teacher-led PD.
great. Do the managers ever attend the group?
Look, they have done, but managers know, and I've had discussions with management about that, and about what the role of management would be in those discussions. So they, like I said, they really do acknowledge the fact that it is grassroots and it's initiative from the teachers for the teachers. So management kind of sit back and just kind of really listen, but sometimes they're not there as well. Like, for example, last journal club, one of our managers decided not to attend because it was about teacher burnout, and she just didn't want teachers to feel as though they had to not really express themselves in the way that they felt like they may have wanted to. Because burnout's can be a bit of a touchy topic.
Yeah. Okay. Someone else has asked, does membership change, or do the same members attend each meeting? Is it important for attendance to be consistent?
Okay. We've got some regulars, and they're going to come rain, hail or shine. In fact, some of our regulars are casuals that have to travel quite a way to come to Journal Club, and that's fine. But we also there's always somebody new coming along. There's always somebody who's never been before. There's always a first timer, and from what I hear back from them, they feel quite lifted by the experience, empowered. They walk out happy and smiling, and they feel like that they've got a voice in a place where they can talk about what matters to them in their professional development.
All right. Another question. Can you give an example of a discussion activity?
Okay, let me think. Oh, gosh. Whoever asked that question, do you want to come to the Queensland PD? Because I'm going to talk about it up there. Look, guys, for example, it might be you have like these little kind of breakaway groups where you have, a couple of handouts, and those handouts have particular types of questions, reflective types of questions, and then those little breakaway groups, it could be groups of 2 or 3, come back to the larger table, and we discuss what each little breakaway group had to say. For example.
Okay, thanks. That's a nice example. Does anyone have any other questions? Might just wait 20 seconds or so, Marnie, to see if any other questions are going to come through.
No worries.
Okay, I think that's it for the questions. Marnie, would you like to make any other comments or, say anything else before we finish?
Not really. I think I've said it all, but I just want to thank everybody for listening in, and you can email me on my email there, or if you're heading up to the PD Fest up at Queensland, I'd be very happy to sit and have a chat with you.
It's great that you're getting out and about to present on this, because, it sounds like such a fantastic thing for a staff room to have. So it would be great if the idea spread. So, Marnie, I'd like to just thank you on behalf of English Australia for presenting today, and you're a really wonderful advocate for Journal Club and also for PD more generally. Journal Club sounds like an incredibly rich experience for the teachers in your staff room. Like I said, I do hope it's an idea that spreads. So thank you very much.
Me too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, Marnie, see you later. Thanks to everyone
Bye.
else for coming.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.